Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Today's business spotlight comes from Mandy. Here is what she had to say. My story is one so many of us can relate to. After 6 long years of trying to conceive, navigating pregnancy losses, recurrent miscarriages, and endometriosis, I finally welcomed my rainbow baby through IVF. I understand the emotional roller coaster of loss and hope. During this time, I also lost my mother, my best friend, to cancer. These moments of grief and hope shaped my journey and inspired me to create something truly special and meaningful for others walking on similar paths. Love, Mandy, is a love letter to my mother and to those who have walked through the valley of loss and infertility. I create keepsake jewelry that goes beyond sentiment. My pieces are made from deeply personal items like pregnancy tests, breast milk, ashes, umbilical stumps, soil from a special place, or even baby's first outfit or the socks you wore during IVF appointments. Each piece is a tangible reminder of love and loss and are custom made to reflect your unique story, capturing the most precious memories in a way that brings healing and solace. For many families, my jewelry becomes a meaningful part of their healing process, offering a way to honor their journey, keep memories close, and carry their most precious moments. I have been where so many are. I understand, from one lost mama to another, what these pieces truly mean. It's not just jewelry, it's a way to hold on to love, loss, and hope, all in one delicate, beautiful keepsake, providing comfort, peace, and a sense of closure to those who wear it close to their hearts. You can use code JASMINE10 to get 10% off your order. Thank you so much, Mandy, for sharing about your business with us. Today, I am talking with Bryce. He shares about the neonatal loss of his daughter Hope due to anencephaly. Bryce also talks about him and his wife having to make the decision between terminating or continuing the pregnancy and how men deal with grief differently. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Bryce. Bryce, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, like you said, my name is Bryce. I am a father of three, husband of gonna be 5 years in November. My wife and I have been together for 6 years and gonna be married for five. Yeah, I live here in South Dakota, born and raised. Yeah, I've been here for quite some years now and moved away a little bit, but always ended up coming back. And yeah, just I own a my own painting company, Positive Painting. Be doing that now of 2 years in February, so that's been quite a journey as well. It was a first year child with our son and first year business and everything. And of course, there's a lot more that goes into my story as we'll talk and stuff, but that's just a little bit of a generalized background. Yeah.
I've never had a chance to visit South Dakota, but all the pictures I've seen, it's very beautiful up there.
Depends on which side of the state you're on.
Does
The
it?
yeah, the west side of the state, more towards Colorado and everything, is more mountains and beautiful stuff. The east side is all cornfields, so
So that's probably the ones they're not really posting pictures of, right?
probably not. Of
So do you mind sharing a little bit about your lost story?
course. Yeah, oh, so it all starts the night that my wife and I actually got married. We did the math and everything, and we actually conceived on our wedding night. Yeah, like I said, doing the math and everything, we that was kind of a neat beginning to the story. So on let's see, it was March of 2020. We had gone in for our 20-week scan to see what we were having for one and do the full anatomy scan. And up until that point, everything was fine. Everything was good. There was no signs of anything. And we went in for our 20-week ultrasound. And when we were watching the ultrasounds prior and stuff, we had no idea what we were looking at, just a bunch of black blobs and stuff and white, the whole screen and everything. And just watching them go through everything, it was just super fascinating. And then at one point they had gotten to her head, and I still didn't it didn't quite click at the time, but I could tell by my wife's reaction that she kind of knew something was up. And then shortly after, the doctor had came in and had told us that we were having a little girl, and that she was diagnosed with anencephaly. And anencephaly is a neural tube defect. From what we were informed, the sister or cousin of spina bifida. Spina bifida is at the bottom of the spine, and anencephaly is at the top. And so, due to her neural tube not fully developing, her skull didn't fully develop. And so, from her eyebrows down to the back of her head was flat. They they had told us, that right there initially, they told us that we had some options, and that we could go either route. They informed us of a bunch of different things. At first it was just letting us take in the shock of everything, and then we started asking questions. And we had left the hospital being told that we had all the time in the world to decide what we'd want to do, whether to terminate or to let her go on her own terms. So we drove to my wife's parents' house, and we wanted to share the news with them in person, of course, and being as devastated as we were. My mom lives in Iowa, and my dad lives out of town here in Sioux Falls, but yet pretty close. And so they all drove to my in-laws' house as well. And we just were there together and stuff. In the midst of that, like I said, it was our 20-week appointment, but gestationally, I believe we were like 21 weeks and 5 days or 6 days or something like that. And so we had the appointment just a little bit late, but they had told us that we had all the time in the world to make a decision on what we wanted to do. And while we were at my in-laws' house, they called us and they were like, "We are so sorry. The state of South Dakota goes up into 22 weeks to terminate. And so you have less than 24 hours to decide on where you'd like to go, on how you'd like to do this." And so that just like really hit us in a different way too. Like, not only did we just find out, like we were now told that we had to make a very big life altering decision in less than 24 hours. So we obviously could not make that type of decision in that length amount of time. And so we, you know, just kind of played out our options, so to speak. And we had actually made appointments up in Minnesota. I don't know the exact number, but they went longer than 22 weeks as far as termination went. And we had talked with the nurse on the phone that at that time, whatever, and asked all more questions, of course, like, the health benefits of my wife and stuff, and what could happen either way, if we made either decision, and what benefits, you know, what other side effects could happen either way. And so we took in all the information that we did. At one point, we had an appointment in Minnesota to terminate, and it was for a few weeks down the road. And thankfully it was. My wife woke up one morning and she came downstairs. I was making breakfast, and she said, I'm gonna let her go on her own terms. And I told her, I said, "I support you in any way, shape, or form that you would like to go. I know that at the end of the day, like it is you that has to go through this. And I feel for that. And so I'm here. I'm here to support you in any route that you would like to go." And so we decided to let her go on her own terms. And I I do apologize. I would like to just back up just a little bit on that story. From her when we were driving from her parents' house back to our house after meeting with my parents and hers, we were having a conversation, and I don't remember exactly what was said specifically and in which order, but I just remember telling my wife that everything was going to be okay, and that we could not lose hope. And it was in that second that we knew that she had named herself. So our daughter's name is Hope Marie Vining.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, so then yeah, that morning my wife had decided that she was going to carry her full term, or as long as she would go, and let her go on her own terms and stuff. Who were we to decide that? We knew the risks of everything. We knew what could potentially happen and stuff, and it didn't outweigh her life in our eyes. And given the circumstances, we had a big discussion, within the matter of a few days and stuff after making the appointment about, how we felt about the entire situation and how controversial that can be in different discussions and stuff. But we knew, and so we had made that appointment. But the moment that she told me that she wanted to let her go on her own terms, I just had this feeling that resonated and stuff that this was the right choice, and thankfully, by the grace of God, things played out the way that they did. Hope made it full term, 38 weeks in one day, and the whole time throughout the pregnancy and stuff, we just wanted to know that she was alive, and so we just kept telling her, keep kicking, just keep kicking. Every kick meant that there was a heartbeat. Every was still with us, and all we wanted to do was to see her alive, and we were blessed with that. We were able to spend 90 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's such an emotional thing.
We were able to spend 90 minutes with her, and her entire life was full of love, nothing but love. We had an amazing team with us at the hospital that works with the hospital called the PRISM team. I forget exactly what that stands for, but it is an acronym. But they specialize in different births that are going to be losses or chances of loss and everything of that nature. So they worked heavily with us during the process, or excuse me, during the pregnancy, then the process of the birth and her entire life. They were very caring and checking on her, making sure that she was safe and that she was comfortable as much as she could be. It was it was a very emotional time, of course, but it was very bittersweet then and looking back at it, finding out that that when she was diagnosed with the anencephaly hurt worse than the day that we were there, and in my own opinion, just because we had the time to kind of prepare ourselves for it, and and thankfully it went that way because we were able to then actually spend the time with her and just be there with her. Like I said, it's very bittersweet, and it's maybe not how everybody may see it or think that situation would go, kind of a thing, but everything works out in the way that it's supposed to. And it was also a lot of a different situation as well. We're talking the midst of 2020, COVID was happening. There was so much going on in the hospital world, in the medical field. There were times that I wasn't able to go to some appointments. I believe that I was able to make it to like an absolute majority of them, but I think there was maybe one or two of them that I wasn't able to go to because COVID was just that high up and an uprising and stuff, and so they weren't allowing it. And there was a time too that there was a possibility I wouldn't be able to be there for the birth. And and again, just by the grace of God, I was able to be present for as much as that I could and be there for that. And throughout all of it, throughout all of that, we were blessed enough to be able to have all of our parents come in two by two. I had to leave the room, but then they let my mother-in-law and my father-in-law come up and be with her after she had passed. of course, my wife and I spent that 90 minutes with her, but then after she had passed and stuff, they allowed all the parents to come up and they got to spend time with her and be with her and stuff. And so we got that. And then as an additional bonus, and I don't even remember, like I just blanked out how exactly this came to be, but we had decided to cremate. And in the midst of that, the funeral home had come to get her from the hospital and stuff. And again, I don't even know how it got brought up, but she said, would you like us to bring her to you to your house?" And we were like, again, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but she came to our house and she got to see the nursery that we had set up and stuff. We had 20 weeks prior to finding out that, so we just jumped the gun and we got the crib and the changing table and everything, all this and that, and it stayed that way. And then after finding out, we had our process and stuff, but we decorated her room and everything with different quotes, pictures, and on her window we made my mom and my sisters, they cut out hearts and paper and stuff, and we spelt out hope, and then we did a rainbow. It was just a beautiful thing. But we decorated her room and stuff, and then the funeral home had offered to bring her there, and she got to see her room, and we had a celebration of life at our house that day. And a lot of people came, a lot of family, a lot of friends that supported us through our whole entire journey. They showed up that day and they were able to see her. And it was, again, just such a bittersweet moment. Just what a blessing that I know so many families did not get. They they didn't get anywhere near half of what we got, and my heart goes to them and all families that have gone through a loss in general. Anyone that's since then too, we've joined a bunch of support pages and stuff like that, and all the families that have gone through anencephaly, any sort of neural tube defect, any sort of loss. A loss is a loss. It doesn't matter at what stage, anything. My heart just goes to them and all the things that happen with that and that come with that. Like I said, it was just such a bittersweet blessing to be able to have all of that in the midst of our storm. It's just wild to me the way the universe works sometimes.
I know sometimes it's just like everything somehow just falls into place, even when you're like stuck in like the worst situation you could be in. It's like it finds a way to make it the best that the bad situation can be.
Yes, agreed.
But I think that's amazing that she was able to come home and see the house and see her room and that you were able to have everybody come over and see her. That's something I definitely wish, had been offered to us and it wasn't. So
Yes, yeah, and it's hard to sometimes it's hard, or you get that feeling to share that with some families didn't, and especially like with COVID and stuff. Unfortunately, I know that in parts of the country and stuff that there were a lot of fathers that couldn't be in the room with their birth period, whether they were losing or not, or bringing their child home. They weren't able to be there and share that moment with their wife, with their family, and that breaks my heart. And I don't know if it was our unique situation that allowed all of that to happen. I truly don't know. We were never explained why, or given the explanation as to why we were allowed to do these things. It literally just happened. And we weren't going to question it either, of course. We just went along with the flow, of course. But it's just the universe works in its own way. God puts you in the right place at the right moment, and I truly believe that now. It was It's just crazy. And at the moment, at the moment, they always say that you can't connect the dots looking forward, only when you look back. And at the moment, we didn't think about any of it. But now, some years later, 4 years later, able to see those things now, and to be able to put that in that limelight, and it's truly amazing when you look at it on such deeper levels.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
she's
that's something
outstanding.
that we have the benefit of doing now, that my loss was 6 years ago. So, and you said four. So, after several years, it's like you can finally get through like, oh my gosh, every day is horrible. I'm crying all day, every day to like actually get to that point of reflection.
Correct. Yeah. And even now, I mean, as as you heard, of course, I mean, telling her story, it still gets me. And as it always will. I mean, it always will. I I I hope that someday I can tell her whole story and be able to keep it together a little bit, just so that way I can tell her story. But it still gets me. I know that with men, this and that, you're not supposed to show emotions, and that's such an old condition. But and thankfully we're getting now into the day and age of mental health and awareness in that, and especially with men's mental awareness and talking about feelings and stuff. I know that that's becoming more of a new age thing, and I'm so glad to be a part of that era. I have always been an emotional person, so I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when it comes to my family and when it comes to my daughter, that is very much the case.
Yeah, I'm glad that that's becoming more of a thing too, because dads lost the same thing that the moms lost. You both lost a child, and it's not fair to make the men be silent because they're supposed to be strong. Like that's dumb. They're hurting too, and they need to be able to talk about it.
Correct. So I just want to take this time to really thank you, Sarah, for allowing me to come on here and speak and tell my story from the side of a father's perspective. I mean, my wife is such a strong woman with everything that we've been through and everything that she had to go through herself. I am very well aware that I'm not the one that had to carry her, that had to go through the physical hurt, the physical changes, the physical everything, and then to go through the mental of everything. I know that she's the one that had to take that on, and I am eternally grateful for her and all women that have to go through that in general. Again, whether it's a loss or not, the physicalness, the physical changes that your body goes through. I'm just very thankful for my wife and again for all women that go through that. Just what a crazy thing that is. And yeah, I just thank you for creating this space for fathers. And I'm sure that you're going to interview more fathers as they learn that they're able to step forward and that they're able to talk about their feelings and how they do feel about the situation. To peel back that veil of the insecurities, the tough man mask that they have to put on every other day, that they can able to drop that for just a moment and speak about their lost journey, about their child or children, if it be many. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And thank you for creating that.
Well, thank you for wanting to, come on and share. But you're the second dad that I've interviewed, so I haven't, had the chance to talk to many men. They're not as, like you said, they're not as open. Some of them are, I guess, afraid of being judged or, don't
Mhm.
want to be seen as emotional. But yeah, I think it's such a powerful thing when they are able to share their stories.
Yeah, and I definitely think that that'll change. I really do. I think that more and more will come forward in any case and stuff. And like I said, it's becoming more of a new age thing. It is fairly new within the last five years or so. I think it's been really headstrong. I think there's always been a group of men that share their feelings more than others and stuff, but it just wasn't as publicly spoken as it is now. And it is just what a time to be in that and to be a part of that and stuff too. So I love it. I love talking about Hope. I love when people bring her up. I know that with the loss and stuff, so many people mean so well with anything that they say, whether it comes off wrong or not. Like most people have the greatest intentions when they talk about things or say something. And and there are people I know out of respect that don't bring it up because they don't want to ruin the good mood you're in or anything of that nature. No, none of that. None of that at all. Like I love talking about her. I love telling her story. I will go as deep as you would like, you know, with any of it and how I see things and just to talk about her because that keeps her spirit alive and and just shares, the awareness of that this is a thing, anencephaly is one in four, and unfortunately my wife is one of those four. My family is a part of that statistic. So no matter how rare something might be, there's a possibility, and just bringing that awareness forward and letting people know about it in general, it is again one of those bittersweet things. You never know until you do know, and then once you know, you can know better, do better, kind of a thing. And so I love it. I really do. A lot of things have come, a lot of beauty has come out of that storm that my wife and I went through. Beforehand, we were always pretty happy people, pretty positive for the most part. For years, about a decade, a little over a decade now, my nickname has always been Mr. Positive. And I always seen the positive side of things, and I always said for years and years, you can always find the positive side in things and even death. You just have to be willing to look for it, and they say seek and you shall find. And so I always try to seek the brighter side of things. And while being aware that, there is the negative side of things and stuff, I just try not to let that grasp too much. But yeah, no, a lot of good things have happened because of it. The situation and stuff like hope. Hope sparked my spiritual journey and wanting to know more. My wife had asked, you know, we both were asking all of the whys. Why did this happen? Why her? Why us? Why this? Why that? And I told her, I said, I'm gonna find out why. I'm gonna find the best answer that I can to try and help ease our minds and to just help us mentally. That I'm gonna do some digging. And I was already kind of like inching towards different spiritual practices, teaching, stuff like that. And I was raised in a church and stuff and knowing God and everything. And it was a little forced in my younger days and stuff. So I kind of went away from it for a long time in my young adulthood and stuff. But I was slowly kind of inching back towards it, not knowing. Again, I can't know it then, but looking back now, I'm aware that was kind of the case. So, but I was always kind of inching towards it, and as the time went forward and stuff, it just grew stronger and stronger. And the more that I dived into different teachings and stuff, the more that things just made sense. And I was able to come to peace with why things happened the way they did. And I guess I don't know how deep or how crazy you want to get into this, so to speak, but I know that some of it may be controversial. Some things might not be seen or seen in the same framework, so to speak. But I think that it does have a beautiful image if you're able to see it that way. And even my wife, even after 4 years, she still doesn't quite see it the way that I do. But everybody's on their own journey and everyone is on their own path. And doesn't mean that you need to get to the same point of path that somebody else is on, but just having that open mind to knowing that it could be a different way or be seen in a different light, I think is a really good tool. I I've talked with just a couple of other couples and other fathers and stuff that have lost, and I've kind of shared my perspective on it. And some I've gone pretty deep with it, and some of them just kind of just touched surface level. And it seemed to resonate with them in some way, shape, or form and stuff. And so, yeah, I guess if I may, it just really opened my eyes to a few different things. Before we come to this plane on Earth, they say that we sign a soul contract, and through that we choose who our parents are. We choose what struggles we go through in life, and we choose what accomplishments we have. All of the good, all of the bad, all of the is. And in knowing that, or in learning about that, it made me realize, and something clicked immediately, that Hope knew what she was going to go through. She knew the path that she was going to take. And in doing so, she healed so much karmic debt from her past lives, from just her soul journey. She helped my wife and I. She is what, like I said, sparked my spiritual journey in general. And I feel like I would have eventually gotten there anyways, but she showed that light in the darkness that I couldn't quite see. Shined that light, and I was able to see things differently, and that was pretty quick, I'll say. In 2021 is when I like really started diving really deep and stuff, because it was in July 23rd of 2021. As far as I didn't even of 2020, excuse me, that she was born and gone. I don't think I said that beforehand. So it was like mid of 2020 that had happened, and 2021 is when I started really diving deep into all of that, and kind of came to more of a peace with everything. And so when I tell people her story and stuff, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the sacrifice that my daughter made in order for my wife and I to carry on and to share her story and everything. And now through that we have our rainbow boy, Coda. He's going to be 2 in November, and we see her spirit shine through him like none other. They have so many different features that are the same, and just how bright and joyful he is. We just see that, and we know that that's her spirit shining through him. And now we are expecting again in February, and it's a little girl, and we're gonna name her Peyton, and she'll have the same middle name as her sister, and as all other females on my wife's side of the family. They're all Maries, and so we're gonna keep that tradition going and stuff. But through all of it, again, we've been able to have all of this light shine after such a dark time. Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful way to look at it though, and I've actually never really heard about the souls and choosing, what all everything that you're going to go through. So that's interesting to me because I've never heard that.
Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a different outlook on it and stuff. And not saying that everybody needs to or anything. It was just something that kind of helped me again see it in a different light. She was the first major loss in my life. I'd lost a couple of grandparents and like great grandparents and stuff when I was younger. And then even in my early adulthood and stuff, lost my grandfather and stuff. But it was different, of course, losing my own child. And so I didn't really know what the depression feeling was like. And yeah, it just really helped my mental state, and knowing that her physical body may have passed, but her spirit always lives on. And she just transitioned to a different plane of existence, and she's always there, and she's always here, and she sends us signs all the time. Butterflies and dragonflies are a very significant thing in our lives now, and again, it just kind of makes you step back and look at life differently. Whereas I've noticed many dragonflies and butterflies in my life before, but now when I see one, it's different. They just kind of pop out to me, and it's when you're not even looking for it. You're not looking for a sign at all, and it just comes. One lands right next to you, if not on you, and I know that that's her coming to say hello. And it's just little things like that that just lets me know that there's something else. There's more to it. Yeah, and it just lets me know that she's here. that her spirit continues to move on and live with us, that she's always a part of this family. And and as her siblings get older and stuff, we're gonna teach them more and more about her and let them know that she's a part of their life. And for the rest of their whole life, they'll know that she's guiding them, that she's watching over them. And again, that's just another bittersweet blessing. As much as we would love to have her here, I would trade anything to have my daughter here. But given her condition and the circumstances and stuff, it needed to happen the way that it was supposed to. And if it were meant to be any other way, it would have been. And that's also been another outlook on it, so to speak. And it's hard. I mean, it's none of it is easy, of course. It's a lot of trial and error when it comes to that, and how you feel about it one day is not how you're going to feel about it the next day.
Yeah.
And it just kind of hits you, like there's moments I just catch a certain smell. There's a scent that she had when when she was brought to our house. And just every now and then, just out of the blue, the wind picks up or something. And my wife and I, one of us, like, or if we're together, like we just smell it and we just look at each other, just whip our heads to each other. And we're like, you smell that? Yeah, I do too. Cool. Like we're not crazy, but it just brings you back. And then sometimes it's a beautiful moment, and like she's here. And other times it hits you like a brick wall and you just break down, and all of it is okay. And
Yeah, I
just
think
knowing that,
definitely every day is different. You kind of never know what it's going to be when you wake up.
correct, and you just have to know that it's all okay. None of it is good, none of it is bad. It is all the way that it's supposed to be, and every moment is perfect in its own right.
I'm curious, did you guys know anybody who had been through loss before you went through it?
Not that we knew of, nothing, I know for so long that losses were just not something that families or women talked about. It was kind of just a closeted thing. But throughout our journey, after we had found out and we shared to the world what we were going through, and after our loss, and continuously now talking with different people, there's quite a bit of family members, of friends, or their family members and stuff that we know of, that we know well, that have been through a loss. But I can say myself, beforehand and stuff, I didn't know of anyone really close that had lost or that had was open about it, so to speak. But I have now come to learn that it was more of a common thing than you would think. And so no, not at the time.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of sad when you go through it and then you learn that all these people around you had them and you just never knew because they just never
Correct.
felt comfortable talking about it for whatever reason.
Yes, I mean, it is. And then that's another mind-opening thing, like throughout our entire journey. I just want to go out there and say that we have had the absolute best support system between our parents and friends and family friends and stuff like that. They've just been so supportive and talking about her, sharing our post, asking questions, and just being a part of our journey as much as they can at whatever distance they're comfortable being in. And again, I know that's not something that everybody does get and stuff, but I just say that, and in saying that, being more open about it invites people to be there, to show their support and to show the love and careness that they have for not just you but your child. And so, if you are listening and you're afraid to open up, like please do. It, it's not just us that it affects, it affected everybody in our family and everyone around us. They lost too, in their own way. And so the more that you talk about it, the more that you're able to heal, or the more that you're able to help somebody heal, or that you're able to keep their spirit alive. So sharing is a very key factor Again, in my opinion, I know that, not everybody is comfortable to do so, and you have your right to not share, of course. But if you feel obligated to, just know that you're safe to do so.
I'm curious too, after you went through loss, did you find any resources specific to dads who had been through loss?
Yeah, yes, not there's a lot of pages on Facebook, different different groups and stuff that I have found now, but yeah, just the father side of things. There's just so many men that are closed, or you know, again, I pass no judgment, but just so many men are a lot of men and just see it as, just something that happened. It's just a loss, That's something my wife went through, you know, kind of a thing, or yep, it sucks, life moves on, kind of mentality and stuff. So they're not open about it, or they might not feel the same way, so to speak. And maybe that's just, again, like I said, the veil, that the mask that they're putting on. But yeah, the groups and stuff that I found, they just weren't active. They were there. Somebody created them, but they weren't active, and I've been able to talk with a few different of groups that I've found as far as like men go. Nothing has really kicked off. We've tried to have a men's group night once a month, once every other month or so, just to get together and just, let people know and let men know that that support is there. But yeah, just nothing's really kicked off because, again, it's still so new for people to talk about those things and to be open about it. But we have found a lot of support pages in general for families, and through those nationwide, that is, through those, I have seen a few dads be active on those pages. I'm not as active on them as much as I would like to be. But I know my wife is and stuff, and so I see those posts. I try to interact with them, leave a comment, and just let the mothers know that, as a father, like I see them, and that their voices are heard and everything. But no, unfortunately, the dad scene is still a little faint.
Yeah, I've seen some of that too, like where like they were created, but then nobody talks on them or they just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah. The first one that we found, it wasn't on the father side. It was just in general, but it was the first group that we found was called Anencephaly Hope, and it was ran by Lisa Borders, East Coast. She's moved now. I forget exactly where she is, but yeah, she sent out care packages and organized so many different things for families that lost due to anencephaly specifically. And it was just, again, one of those spotlights that the universe shined on us was this group and this page and this amazing woman, and what she did, and all of the other families that have been through specifically what we have been through. And now throughout the years, we've found so many other infant loss awareness groups and stuff, and church-based groups. We have locally around here, we have Oakland Foundation, Hope Ministries, just a bunch of other ones that deal with just infant loss awareness at any level, any stage. Again, like I said earlier, a loss is a loss, and they support those, and they host different events that we've been able to participate in, be a part of, support, all of it. So very thankful that those are there. It just, again, creates that awareness and creates that space to be open about your child's story, and lets people know. And I will say too that at these events, when we first started going, they were I go to as many of them as I can. I know my wife's been to a couple that I haven't been able to go to and stuff, but been very, very present in all of those and stuff. And since I've gone into the ones that I've gone, each time that we go, and each year there are more and more men there. So I know that it is definitely happening. Like it's definitely growing when it comes to the men's side, and the support that they show and share. It's really a wonderful thing.
That is amazing that you can, visually see that it's catching on, like when more people start showing up.
Yeah. It is a good feeling.
So
And any anything that I can do to help with that, you know, running my own business now, it doesn't create a lot of time and space to do some of these extra things and stuff, but someday it is a goal of mine to, I've entertained a lot of different ideas, starting my own podcast, so to speak, for fathers or for just infant loss in general, from a men's perspective, from a father's side of things, and just seeing what happens, but just or just creating that space as well, like for a one-to-one with a father, so that way it's not openly or public or anything like that, where they still have that kind of personal space that they know is there for them, that they can be open and everything, but that it's not public and open to the world. I can see where that can be a lot, especially at first, but I just think that again, I have some different insights and some different perspectives on things that may help, and even if not, just knowing that there's another father out there willing to hear and listen to your story, and know that you are heard, and that you are loved. I would love to be able to create that space for somebody.
I love that. I think those are all great ideas. It's just finding the time to do them, right?
Correct.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to share or add?
No, not much. Just again, a huge shout out to the support that we've had throughout our journey. Just a shout out to you, and the space that you have created for this, and to be able to share our daughter's story, and for all of the families. I've listened to a bunch of the episodes and stuff that you've had. I'm still not fully caught up yet, but I try to listen to all. I'm trying to listen to all of them. It's just a wonderful thing, and my heart goes to every one of those families. So shout out to all of the mothers, and to the other father that you spoke with, and all the future people that you have on here and stuff. Just my heart goes to you and your families, and to your children. And a big shout out to my wife for going every going through everything that she has, and that she will continue to go through with this pregnancy that we're through now. Just just a big thank you to everyone, and just again, no, to any other fathers that might listen to this, or any of the wives that are going to force their husbands to listen to this. I hope that you just know that it's okay, that you're safe to share and open up your feelings and stuff, and just be open. Just be open to it all. Is the message I'd like to leave. So
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with us.
yes, of course. Thank you so much again for creating this space. It was an honor.
Thank you so much, Bryce, for sharing your story with us and sharing the perspective from the father's point of view. You are so right that it is starting to change as more fathers speak out about their experience. Yes, it is the mothers that physically carry the pregnancy and go through the actual labor, but that doesn't mean that the father has no right to grieve as well. Fathers hurt too, and we should never discount what they are going through. The babies are their children as well. I think just allowing them to share how they're feeling and checking in on them are important steps to helping more of them feel safe about opening up. Also, remembering that they may grieve differently and that them not talking about it doesn't mean that they're not hurting too. As always, I think we just need to give each other grace as we learn to navigate life after loss. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.